Hi friends, I'm Ellen Gormley. Welcome to my channel. I have a cold, so I'm sorry for my voice, but I wanted to get started. We're working on bead crochet. So these are the videos that are coming up soon on how to add beads to single crochet and double crochet. But our first step is going to be doing a chain with beads. So I have a yarn needle and I have a bunch of craft beads or pony beads. I have a worsted weight yarn. And I have a hook that goes, I'm picking just a G, no, let's pick this I. I'm going to pick an I hook because it's my favorite with worsted weight. Okay, so one of the first things, oh, here comes Theo. One of the first things that I'm going to do is pick some beads to put on my yarn. One of the ways that I can put beads, honey, leave it. One of the things that I can do to put the beads onto the yarn is to place the yarn on the needle. Oh, and try not to split it like I just did. Put the yarn on the needle. Here comes Theo the cat. And then I can just pick up beads if they're big enough. If their diameter is big enough to go over the yarn needle, then you can just pick them up. I like these blue ones. I'm going to do these little light blue ones. Those are pretty. You can just pick them up and slide them right on. Now, if your beads are smaller, clearly you will need, and I mean smaller in diameter of the hole, you will need a smaller or thinner needle, and you'll need smaller or thinner yarn. So everything needs to be in proportion. So if you have a fat yarn, you can have fat beads and a fat needle. Okay, I'm going to put this lid back on so that Theo doesn't dump out the whole thing, because that would be a mess. Okay, so I have some beads here. I just put random beads onto my thread, onto my yarn. And now I will take my needle off of my yarn and put the needle aside so Theo doesn't knock it and lose it. I'm going to place a slip knot on my hook. Insert my hook into the slip knot as usual. I'm going to slide all of my beads that I inserted on the yarn closer to my hook, okay? So sometimes in my class at anniescatalog.com on bead crochet, I used BUB, bring up bead. So what that means is when you slide the beads closer to your hook, you're bringing up the bead, B-U-B, bring up bead. So I am going to go ahead and tension my yarn, and I think I'm going to chain one first, but whatever, you know. Then I'm going to pull up the oh my gosh, my cold. Bring up the bead, BUB. I'm going to insert my hook on the far side of the bead and bring in a chain. Okay, so that puts that bead securely in that chain. I'm going to chain one. How many chains should we do? 2. Okay, now we will bring up a bead, hold it there, reach the hook on the far side of the bead, and pull through the loop. Okay, we want to try to make these loops appropriate though, so I'm going to undo it and make it a little tighter so that they have a nice gauge on the underneath. Okay, this is the underside. This is the right side or front side. So you see kind of like if we were doing a foundation chain, this is like the underside, and the beads are sitting on the back ridge, back bump, back loop, like the little scales down a dragon's back. That's where the bead is sitting. So if we want to do bead after bead after bead, then I would bring up all of my beads and I would feed them through my hands like this, and I would yarn over, pull through. If I want to do another one, I would slide the next bead, yarn over, pull through, slide the next one, yarn over, pull through. So it's just a chain. It's just exactly the same, only you're reaching your hook on the far side of the bead. Yarn over, pull through, and now I have the last 4 beads are in the last 4 stitches. They're one right after the other. The first couple I had spaced out a little bit. All right, so If you want to then, I've got one more bead strung, so I'm going to go ahead and do one more chain. Now, if we wanted to turn this chain foundation, so this is just a chain. This is just a chain with some beads on it. If I want to turn and work in the stitches, just like I would a crochet, starting a crochet rowed piece, I can chain 1 and turn, or I can crochet, chain 2 and turn, or 3 and turn, whatever you want to do. I'll be working in the top 2 available leftover bars because the bead is in the back ridge, back bump, back bar. And so if I single crochet, I'm just placing my hook in those 2 loops opposite the bead and pulling up a loop here and yarning over and pulling through 2 to do a single crochet. So whatever stitch you're going to do, you just grab those 2 unused loops that are on the underside of the bead. So if I wanted to do, so I just did 2 single crochets. If I wanted to do a half double crochet, I could yarn over, insert the hook under there, and it kind of pushes the bead to the side a little bit. So I can half double crochet, no big deal. If I wanted to do a double crochet, I could do that too. So I'm just going in those 2 loops underneath the bead. So if you put the beads in the beginning foundation chain, they will be in the foundation chain underneath your stitches. Okay, and then let's do one more double crochet because that's what I feel like doing. And then when you have skipped a chain, like I didn't put a bead in this chain here, you can go ahead and do the traditional you can do, I was going to say the back ridge and 1 loop, but that would kind of turn it a little bit. So just get 1 in there. You also could slide it in and just do the whole thing and put it underneath. And let's see how that would look. Okay. Okay, so you get a nice view there. So if we put in the next stitch, double crochet, and then skipped stitches, there's 2 skipped stitches here. So we can either work into the stitch like we do for chains, and that kind of makes a little bit if it were sitting in the stitch, or we can just stitch over the entire chain and be in that gap. Okay, so there's the difference. That's how it looks. This one is just around the whole chain, and this one is in the chain. Okay, and then to get the last stitch done, just use those 2 loops underneath the bead and make whatever stitch you want to make. Remember, we did chain 1 first, so you can decide if you want to work in that chain or not, depending on what your pattern or what your design is. So to make it even, I'm going to go ahead and single crochet there. Okay, so that is how to bead in a chain. And keep tuned to the channel because I will be beading into single crochets. There's 2 methods. And I will be beading into double crochet. There's 2 methods. So those are coming up. So I hope to see you next time. Thanks. Bye. So if you liked this video, here's another one that's similar that you might also enjoy. And here is the last video that was uploaded in case you missed it. Everyone, please like and subscribe.